Are you curious as to how contractors won their first government contract? Everybody wants to know, especially when just getting started with government contracting. Well, guess what? In this video, I'm sharing how I won my first government contract. Hi, I'm Felicia Streeter over at FeliciaStreeter.com. If this is your first time, welcome to the channel. I help small businesses just like you get into government contracting by taking away the information overload, those bidding nightmares, and not knowing where to start, so that you can become a government contractor and tap into the pockets of the biggest spender in the world with small businesses. Now, if this is your first time, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and go ahead and like this video. I've walked a lot of students in my community through the steps that I'm going to share with you guys that had got me from not knowing what to do into my first government contract. And guess what? If we can do it, so can you. All right, so let's get into government contracts. How I won my first contract. Now, to be totally honest and transparent, I believe that when you're just getting started in any new venture, it takes a little bit of knowledge and a little luck don't hurt either. So I'm going to share with you some things that I realized that helped me in getting to my first government contract. Some is just mindset and, the thinking process and believing what's possible for you. But the other thing is some tangible steps that I had to take to make it happen. All right, so are you ready? So here's the thing. If you're taking notes, you might want to write this down. And if you're not taking notes, you still might want to write it down. So here we go. The first thing I realized that allowed me to win my first government contract was being in the right place at the right time. Now, being in the right place at the right time also means you have to be open to the opportunity and you have to be prepared. So if you've been around my community for a while, one of the things I preach is being proactive. And a part of being proactive is having the tools, the strategy, and having everything in place that you're going to need when that opportunity presents itself so that you can take advantage of it. All right, so here's how it started for me. I was doing some business development, and this is actually phase 5 in my government contract accelerator program. So I was doing business development and I sent an email. Okay. When I sent this email, I sent it to a contracting officer. So hence the right person. Now, there's a lot of contracting officers out there, but I knew what I was going to offer to the government. I did the research to see who was putting out those type of contracts, and I sent emails out to those type of contracting officers. So anyway, I sent an email to this one particular contracting officer, and lo and behold, they were looking for exactly what I offered. At that time, it was modular buildings. And him, as the contracting officer, his struggle was finding a capable contractor that had the certification that they had set the contract aside for to actually do the work. Being in the right place at the right time, knowing who my customer was and what type of contracts they were putting out, and then also being prepared as far as a company to take advantage of the opportunity and having my certifications. Now, I'm not saying you have to have your certifications in all cases, because a lot of times people like to wait until they get their certification. So I don't believe you have to do that. But for this particular opportunity, they were looking for a particular certification, and I had it. So I want you to comment below, down there in the comments. Are you in the process of looking for your first government contract? Let me know. Yes or no, no or yes. Now, let me tell you, I should lean in, but I think I'm kind of close already. But let me tell you, My story as a subcontractor. Now, you guys know, if you've attended my free webinar, I talk about one of the great strategies to getting into government contracting is to be a subcontractor. I still believe that, but my experience as a subcontractor sucked. But I do realize it was something that I had to go through, something that I had to learn, like there was a lesson in it. And I think it gave me the motivation to learn the things that I didn't know, to seek the help that I really needed to get my business to that next level. I'm not going to get into that story here because you've heard it many a times. Well, I have a couple of videos here on the channel. I'll link those below where I share my story. And then I also talk about my story and journey on my About page on my website. Okay, so I'll put that link down below as well. Just to briefly tell the story, most of you guys know, if you've been around my community for a while, family is very important to me. Very, very important. Now, being a subcontractor, and when it came a time where my prime contractor didn't pay me as agreed, and then I wasn't able to take care of my family like I wanted to, okay, and it was Christmas time. So that's what really lit the fire under my ass, if you will, and got me to thinking like, okay, there has to be a better way. I need to learn something different. It's something I don't know. There's something missing, because I see other companies that's, they're doing their thing in government contracting, and where I'm at sucks. Okay. And so the reality was for me is I never want to be in a position, I should say, I never want to be in a position where someone else will dictate whether or not I'm able to take care of my family. Because that's a bad place to be. I don't like it. Now, that's just me personally. And so everything I've done from that point forward to today, and I'll continue to do, is I look at things, and I never want someone else to be able to dictate whether I can take care of my family or not. The other thing I always say, I never want to be in a position ever again where I have to make a decision based on money. I'm going to let that sit with you. I never want to be in a position again where I have to have money in the equation of me making a decision. Okay, so I want to take money out the equation and just be able to make a solid decision. All right, so that's just a little bit of the story of what sparked me from going from subcontracting to prime contracting. Again, I said it sucked for me overall, and I talk about that in other videos as well, so I'm not going to dive deep into that here. But if you're just starting out, I still think subcontracting is a great place to start. There'll be some lessons learned because there's a lot you probably don't know. And sometimes the lesson is really learned when you have boots to the ground. Okay. Now, I'm pretty sure you have your own story as to why you're doing what you're doing, why you want to get into government contracting. You may even have your own stories as it relates to being a subcontractor, right? So your story is your story. Your journey is your journey. All of us are here to do one thing: get to the finish line and become a government contractor. So, all right, so here we go. So I sent the email introduction. That's the first thing I did. I sent that to the contracting officer, basically telling them about my company. I knew what they did, so kind of talked about that. I did mention my certifications, and I let them know that I did have capacity if they had any current opportunities that they were looking for to do modular buildings and, certifications that I have and things like that. So I talked about my capacity. And if you attended my webinar, 3 Secrets to Win Government Contracts, I talk about capacity in there an awful lot, because it's important to always know your capacity, because that also translate into, okay, here's my capacity, here's what I can take on right now. And so that's what I shared with that contracting officer. And lo and behold, my company was just what they were looking for. So that was really awesome. I had the certification that they set the contract aside for. I did the type of work that they were looking for. And I had the resources and the capacity. That was like 3 thumbs up, right? The next thing was they came back and said, hey, we have this opportunity. Is this something that you guys can do? Yes, we negotiated the deal, right? So we had to put numbers to it, negotiate a deal, come to an agreement. So a lot of times, even though when you're negotiating deals or when someone brings an opportunity to you and say, hey, I have this opportunity, like as a prime, they're the prime. So they've already been awarded the contract and they're like, hey, can you do this work? Here's the number. You still have to be able to price it out for yourself to make sure it makes sense for you and that you're going to make money in the deal. So I don't care what the deal looks like. If the number is given to you, you still need to backdoor your way into the pricing of it to make sure it's going to be profitable for you. So after negotiating the deal, I delivered on my promise. So what came of this was a contract for 4 years. Let me make sure it's 4 years. Yeah, 4 years. And it was $11,500 a month. So that was my first contract as a prime contractor. That was cool. So that was a 6-figure contract over 1 year. I think it was around $138,000, something like that. But over 4 years, it was just under, or was it over? No, it was just over $500,000. So that was cool as a first prime contract. So let me give you the numbers. So let me look here. So it was $11,500 per month. So that was $138,000 per year. And then it was a 1 year with 3-year option, and they took the option years as well. So it totaled out to be around $552,000. What did I say? 500? Yeah, 500,000. I should say 500,000. 552,000. So 500. Yeah, I'm saying that right. 552,000. There you go. All right, so it was over 4 years. So, and this was for the rental of some modular buildings. So once we set the buildings up, outside of maintenance, we had to do nothing but collect our check every month. How cool is that? Now, even in that, I also realized seeking help was important because government contracting can be overwhelming. I asked the questions that I knew. Don't get me wrong. We all ask the questions that we know to ask. But even in my line of work and working with a lot of you guys in the community, some of your questions are vague. They're not timely. And when I say timely, they're not in relation to where you're currently at. So even me giving you the answer is not going to help you get to the next step or even get you to the finish line based on where you're at. And I didn't know what I didn't know. And so circling back, most of you guys don't know what you don't know either. That's why you're asking the questions that you ask and they're out of sequence. Also looking for help, I started networking. So I went to industry day events, matchmaker events, I mean anything, conferences, whatever. I was trying to soak it all up. But can you imagine how overwhelming that is, how tiresome that is? When you're trying to do that, you're trying to build your business, and any little crumbs you get, you're trying to work those projects too. It's very, very overwhelming when you're just out there doing a multitude of different things and there's no structure or strategy to it. Now, here's what happened that really changed the game for me. So that was that contract. But now let's talk about going from there to over 7 million, because I know you guys want to hear that. I talk about that on my About page and in some other videos as well. So I realized that, oh, you can do teaming and joint ventures on government contracts. Now, in doing a teaming arrangement or a joint venture, it's all about what each party brings to the table. So I realized that. And what I also realized is I didn't have a lot to bring to the table. So total transparency. So if you're just getting started, you probably don't have a lot that you bring to the table either. And a lot of times we think when we're going to partner with a larger company that it's about the money. And most of the time, it's not about the money. It may be about the money for us as to what we need when we're just starting out because we need resources. But the larger company is really not about the money as far as putting the deal together with you. The money will come through the bigger picture. So I had to figure out, how can I help whatever company I team with or joint venture with? How can I help them achieve their goals? How can I help them fulfill a need that they may have within their company? And how will you even know what that is? That's where the business development come in. Another thing that as I transitioned to, from 23,000 to over 7 million and getting to this first contract, I realized personnel would be important. And this is something that I talk about when we talk about phase 2 perform and phase 4 partner inside of my government contract accelerator program, that key personnel, how are you going to deliver on your promise? Well, I didn't have employees. I didn't have independent contractors that I knew I would work with. I didn't have any of those things. And so for me, teaming with another company allowed me to have the personnel that I needed to deliver on my promise. Now, you have to figure out what deficiencies you have and how you can find a company that can help you fulfill your deficiencies while in turn you bring something to the table that they need. That was the next thing that I did. Now, once you know that, if you're dealing with a larger company, you have to find that key person within that company that believes in what you're saying, the deal, right? Joint venturing or teaming, and they're willing to work with you and push that deal through their company internally through the key decision makers, because you may never talk to the key decision makers at the end of the day. You just may have a person, a point of contact that you'll work with in making it all happen. The next thing is to start building relationships, getting to know that person. Building that like, know, and trust factor is very, very important. It's going to dictate the success or failure of that venture together. And so trust, total transparency, you want it all. Another great thing of doing the teaming is they are able to put you on their projects. So, when you're teaming with a larger company, 9 times out of 10, they have other projects going on in addition to whatever they're trying to do with you. So a great thing to do is, once you build a relationship up, they'll start putting you on some of their projects. And it's great to do, one, because on the government side, they like to see these teaming arrangements, joint venture companies. However, the deal is that you guys are used to working together, that you can work together on projects successfully and complete those projects together in time, on time, under budget, all of that. And so when you guys go together to bid on a contract with the government and you show them, hey, we've done these projects together, they were successful, that allows them to feel more comfortable with giving a contract to your, teaming arrangement, joint venture company. Now, here's the thing. Once they put you on their projects, here's what's good for you. You're able to build cash flow. You're able to build up some past performance, and you're able to get some experience all under your belt within your company versus having it just in your career. Now, if you do this right, the end result is mutually beneficial relationships that are outrageously profitable. So let's recap this. Let me tell you. So remember I said the first thing was being in the right place at the right time, being proactive, and a little bit of luck. That was the essence of how this all transpired. Now, getting into the details, I sent an email, but I sent the email to the right person. So I had to do a little research to make that happen. I also was seeking help. I knew I didn't know it all, and I wanted to fast track my results versus 2, 3, 5, 10 years. The stories I hear from people, how long it's taken them to even start bidding contracts. Who wants to wait that long? Life is too short, right? So I was seeking help. I asked questions I didn't know to ask. I started networking. I learned about teaming arrangements and joint ventures. I understood what I brought to the table. I found a company that I could do teaming relationships and joint ventures with. I found a person within those company that was a key personnel person that had the leverage to make the deal happen. And once I found that and, we got the warm and fuzzy, I started building a relationship with that individual and with that company. End result, we started bidding contracts together on the government side. They put me on some of their contracts. End result, my company started to grow. I also understood, I didn't say this, but I also understood what my company needed. I understood what my deficiencies were, and I found a company that could help me fulfill my deficiencies and at the same time help me get to my end goal. So there you have it. That was my journey to becoming a government contractor and winning my first government contract. And let me tell you, If you've won your first contract, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your story on how you won your first government contract. Now, if you would like my help on your journey to becoming a federal government contractor, definitely let me know in the comments and we can set up a call and I can tell you all about my government contractor accelerator program. You can also check it out over on my website at feliciastreeter.com/GCA. I'll put the link down below for that as well. And again, if this is your first time here, make sure you like this video. Everybody could do that. Like the video, right? You're watching it. You're still here. Something like you liked about it. So like this video. If this is your first time here, go ahead, subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell so you get notified when I drop new videos and when I go live right here on the channel. All right. So that's all I have for you guys today. And remember, you're just one contract away. Bye for now.